Why, hello YouTube. This is Balor Mage again, and stream's been asking for Torchlight videos, so we're making Torchlight videos. I've been playing the new event preseason for Torchlight Infinite, which if by some miracle you haven't heard of yet, you should absolutely get into, especially if you've already played Torchlight. Quick TLDR, this isn't going to be a video on the event, but quick TLDR of the event. Bosses everywhere that drop tons of loot, extra chests that drop tons of uniques, 300% quant rarity, all that sort of thing. Way more XP than normal because the bosses give large chunks of XP, and the big kicker, the most important part, whatever your main skill is, auto triggers every 0.4 seconds while walking or moving in any way. So you can leap slam or blink or run fast or whatever, and it just auto triggers whatever ability you've got there. So that becomes, basically we've turned every build in the game into a walking simulator. That wouldn't be fun forever long term, but it is very, very fun for an event. The event lasts a month, so if you haven't started it yet, it only started like 3 days ago, 4 days ago, something like that. And it's a month long, so take this as your opportunity to jump back into Torchlight. Now, for the more important part, you'll see in the background now, I am playing a Ring of Ice build. Now, I love Ring of Ice. I've played Ring of Ice before. This time I'm doing it a little bit differently. This one is a Oracle Thea. So it is one of the paid classes this time. You can do this sort of build on the Gemma as well, who is free. You would have to make some minor alterations to play it as that, but for the most part, it'll just work. So basically, I want to tell everyone right at the beginning, this is not really an official build guide. This is not like, I am not the best at this game. I don't know all of the things yet. This is a far away from like PoE's knowledge in my brain. So I've been making what I think are the best choices. There are a few things that are up in the air for me, and if somebody who knows better than me says you're doing this wrong, that could entirely be the case. But so far, it has been smooth, fast, fantastic fun. So we're gonna go over the things that I used to make this build. Just be aware this is all a starting point, a good jumping off point for the character. Feel free to experiment and go your own way. I have a planner for it. Everything that's super important, or at least that I think is super important, is in the planner. So let's start with that. All right. Over here is the planner. Link for this will be in the description. You will notice it's a little bit bare. The reason it's a little bit bare is because I've only put in the things that are important for the build. I've put in one example of a basic weapon that I went for. I put in the one unique that I think is absolutely 100% the unique that you're going to use. We'll get into why in a minute. And I put on the one rare piece that I have with a mod that I consider to be mandatory. When I say mandatory, I did only get it today. I've been playing for 2 days without it, but it was enough of a damage spike that now that I've got it, I realized I should have prioritized it way earlier. So as far as the gear goes that's important, max spell burst charge and max spell burst charge. Those brought me from 4 to 6 spell bursts. Those were super important and super cheap. Should have prioritized them way earlier. Didn't know any better. The other thing, this will apply for all builds this league, if you have area at least. 100% skill radius if main skill is not used in the last 2 seconds. Turns out auto triggering your skill doesn't count. Doesn't count as using your skill. Even though it's going off all the time, doesn't count. That is just 100% radius for one mod. Cost me 3 fee. So those are the two important parts. Now, it might be easier to look at them in game. So let's jump in game and have a look at how I leveled stuff. So started with Goddess of Knowledge. Pretty obvious, we want the spell burst. Pretty obvious, we're going to want 30% spell damage. So that's pretty important. We've come through damage. We've come through crit. We've come through a little bit of energy shield when we need to progress further. Sealed mana, very important. This is the least important part, surprisingly, even though we're a focus stacker. We don't use these 3 nodes for anything, so 1 focus is great, but I leave that till last. Even though 1 focus blessing is fantastic, we do want it. I have 15 total. So this only brought me from 14 to 15. So useful, but it's the last thing. We come back for that. We've got spell damage into +1 all. And then this is the most important node. These are the ones we take first, is the spell burst charge speed. Lovely. Straight into Magister. This is where it gets a bit weird, and this is why I'm going through it. Right? First one, normal. We're expecting this. Max focus blessing +1. 3% additional spell damage per focus blessing owned. Obvious. Knew we were taking that. Great. However, this is where it gets weird. Most spell burst builds have taken play safe, and that will be the play again next season. But in this event, my cast speed or my recharge rate and my proc rate of the auto procking ability have to try and line up. And nothing else scales with cast speed. It's triggering at intervals of movement on a set cooldown, not based on any cast speeds. I'm not casting it. I never press my ability button. I did play with play safe for a while. It was almost completely unnoticeable to take it off. It was about a 3 to 5% ish damage down to drop play safe and change into this one, which made me way tankier. Way tankier. This build like hasn't died anywhere yet. I've only just started farming tier 7s. It might get much harder. I don't know, but it's a lot tankier with this. This is just energy shield charge started recently, cannot be interrupted, and 50% charge speed, which is great. The benefit of going over here is that I managed to spec out of all the cast speed on the tree, because we don't use cast speed for anything except spell burst charge speed, which we do want a lot of, but I spec'd out of all the cast speed. So that's a different thing that I've done. That gets weird. Going through here, again, this is all in the planner. We've gone through spell damage, we've gone through area, crit rating, sealed mana, aura effect, because I have quite a few auras on. And then again, the most important parts, spell burst charge speed, +1 max spell burst. Huge. Then we've got down here, which for me, I took this next, which is just a lot of flat energy shield, a lot more energy shield, and then immediately start energy shield charge upon entering the low energy shield status, which again then can't be interrupted and regens faster. So very nice. Very nice. I took this one last, but you need 36 points in here anyway, so it ended up getting used. We don't use this. We don't care about the mana regen. We don't care about the blessing duration. We do care about 5% crit strike damage per focus blessing. Again, I got 15 of them, so that's a lot of crit multi. Now for the big part. This is the big part. I would never have gone Warlock normally on this build, and I believe every single build this entire league should probably be a Warlock, or at the very least should have this on a slate. 35% additional cooldown recovery speed. This node affects the cooldown rate of the auto procking ability that you have on left click or whatever button it is. For us, that's Ring of Ice. Whatever you're playing, this is 35% cooldown recovery for it. That is huge. Proc your ability so much more often. That mixed with cooldown recovery in the tree ups your damage by a lot. I think this is mandatory for the whole preseason. Just absolutely insane. So we've come out. Damage, obviously. Max energy shield because we needed a few extra points along the way. So I ended up just taking max energy shield to get there. Again, I do err on the side of being a little bit tankier, mostly because I'm a bad player and I just like my build to not die. So you can swap them out if you want to. I like them though. We've taken sealed mana for obvious reasons, sealed mana for obvious reasons, the crit nodes. These nodes here, much help. These are just our, essentially if you come from PoE, this is basically energy shield on hit that scales the more energy shield you're missing. So you leech like a little bit of energy shield if you're at 80%, but a lot more if you're at 20%. It can only occur twice a second at base. We lower that by a bit. We increase the amount we recover by a bit. It's pretty meaningful. I've noticed it quite a bit. I think it's worth keeping. Cooldown recovery, obviously. Damage. This is the only attack and cast speed we've got, and we only got it because we need it for +1 all, which is great. And we came over here for damage, and this is the area that I'm not real sure about. I've taken this damage wheel to get this damage on hit per type of ailment owned. However, right now I'm only putting frostbite on things. So if I can find a really cheap or easy low cost way to add trauma or ignite or shock or wilt, I'll also get extra damage from those. Haven't found a way to do that yet. Slates, important things. My slate board is a mess. Again, this is not a proper build guide. This is, I'm working stuff out as I go. But what I did work out as I go is the +1 max spell burst on a corner piece. At least when I bought it today, very cheap, huge value. The other thing that is very cheap and huge value, although I did get a max agility blessing on this one, which is quite nice. We do use all blessings. But the other one that was quite cheap and very nice was this one right here. 100% skill radius. If you've not used a skill recently, fantastic. 100% area for a single mod. Incredibly cheap. Love that. I do have one sealed mana node here, which I think I need. I'm actually not 100% sure. It's a little dicey if I don't have it. Using one ability, I can still do one ability, but then I have to regen a tiny bit before being able to cast again. I do have quite a bit of regen, so it happens quickly, but it annoyed me. So one sealed mana on the thing was pretty useful. All right, that's that. Next thing up, because I know people are going to ask, there is nothing of importance on my current pack trees. I kind of have shit pets anyway. I haven't built around anything in here. All I've taken is some movement speed from this guy, some more damage from this guy, a little bit of all res on my tree, and a bunch of like drop quantity nodes and whatnot. So I'm not using packs. Use whatever you've got. That's fine. This area's pretty important though. This is where we're getting all of our charges. These were also very cheap. So my, I don't know what you call this thing, hero thing. The important bit here, +1 max focus blessing stack for every legendary hero memory engraved. So I've got 3 of them, so that's +3 focus blessings. The 3 I'm using are +2 max focus blessing stacks for 4 seconds after gaining a total of, I've got an 11, a 10, and a 12 right now because they were way cheaper and I was broke. They roll down to 8. Realistically, I think if we could get all 9s and 10s, we'd probably have 100% uptime on those. I don't think we need 8s. We do burn through our blessings and regain them incredibly quickly. So I'm not sure if we actually need 8s, but I do know that I don't really want the 11 and 12. They also come with chance to gain additional stacks of focus blessing when you gain anything. So those are pretty good. When you gain any charges, those add up. They're quite nice. I'll let you all go through all of these, but these are the selections I've taken. They're all in the planner. You can look over them. The only one that I'm questioning is this one right here. I'm actually not sure at all which version of this is better. This one will make it go off way more often, and it'll give me up to 1200. I don't know what the actual number of how many blessings I have is on my next hit. A lot of damage in a single hit, huge damage in a single hit, but we also do a lot of hits. And so I'm using this one right now. You only get 40% additional damage if you've consumed max stacks, but if Divine Punishment consumes max stacks, which it always does, you gain tenacity blessings and agility blessings and focus blessings equal to half of what you consume. So if we gain half of what we consume, and then we have a whole bunch of chances to gain additional stacks whenever we gain, it just instantly becomes 100% again, completely full. So every single cast, it just goes straight back to full. Uses the big boom, straight back to full instantly. So I've gone with that. This one could be better. I honestly need to play with it more. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the rest of them. At least I think. I think I'm pretty happy with the rest of them. This one also questionable though, to be honest. I'm pretty happy with it. I may have gone over the top. 50% chance to gain an additional stack of focus blessing when you gain any of the others. I might be too worried about that. These might have just taken care of that for me. And if that's the case, I might as well move it down to here. But we'll see. I'll have to play with those in the following days. I think that is everything. It is worth noting that today I dropped Eternity with this build. Just absolutely blasting at speed. For those who don't know, Eternity is basically a headhunter. It is also basically a headhunter rarity, so it's kind of insane, and I'm incredibly happy about it, but I wasn't using it in the background footage. It's not on right now. I've got it though, and I'm probably going to be using it. All right. Link for this will be in the description. I didn't go over the auras. It doesn't really matter where you put these or where you put these. All of these auras are very good. It only matters that this setup is the one that's on seal conversion. There is also many things we can do later when I get a precise seal conversion, and then I'm able to use that to get more auras in and all sorts of stuff. For now, this is the setup. This is the setup you should go with. This requires nothing except the passive points that we've got going on, none of the expensive stuff. So there's a setup for that. I guess I should mention candles. All I'm using is movement speed and cooldown recovery. My candles in game aren't actually rolled 2020. These are quite good. That's all I'm using. I'm open to options here. I like movement speed. I like cooldown recovery, but I'm open to options here. I just haven't seen anything better. That is everything. That is all of it covered. I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.